Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all of the praises and the glory to the Most High and His Son, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakah Kwadash. Double honors to the apostles of the great millstone that taught me this truth through the Holy Spirit, which is indeed through Yahushai, of course. And it's your brother Laban, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai Brakatham, to the 144,000 and the 1/3 who do follow, whom is the elect overall. And it's your brother Laban, once again with another lesson. And in this lesson, Lord willing, this is going to be interesting to you. And what I want to get into is, what this is basically saying. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to compare what this is saying and what had happened in ancient Rome, because the way that the society is falling apart is very well in like manner, as I'm going to show. And just like I said, Lord willing, this will be interestingly edifying to you that get done watching this. So anyway, let's get into it. Is increasing psychopathic behavior is a sign that society is on the verge of breaking down. Discussions on collapse often turn to signs and signals. The economy, politics, and social tensions have become increasingly unstable for many years now, and much like adding more and more weight to a man standing on a frozen lake, eventually the ice is going to break. The question is, how do we know when that moment will be? As the cultural system begins to dissolve due to political clashes and economic decline, the real evil tends to slither out of the woodwork. It happens slowly at first and then all at once. A sure sign of accelerating collapse is the growing prevalence of psychopaths and psychopathic behaviors in the open. The U.S. appears to have entered the middle stages of such a collapse of many sociopaths and psychopaths, beginning with many sociopaths and psychopaths beginning to feel that they might be able to act out their worst impulse without consequence, and they are beginning to test the waters to see what they can get away with. In the past 10 years, there has been a dramatic uptick in mass violence and thefts with the advent of social media, and it is now easier than ever for spontaneously planned riots to form with little warning, and in most cases, these mobs are random in whom and what they attack might organize in the name of politics or activism, but they tend to lash out at whatever targets are closest or easiest rather than the people they blame for the travails. And exactly what was happening in ancient Rome, which was one of the reasons why it fell, as they give on this site over here. And of course, this happened during a time when it was falling apart. So this is one of the reasons why the Roman Empire fell apart. Right now, in this website, this is equivalent to the one that I was reading on history.com, which they would give you the list and reasons why the Roman Empire fell apart. So I'm going to read this part over here. So this reads, reasons as to why the Roman Empire fell: natural disasters. During the time of the Roman Empire, there were not only foreign wars, civil wars, and street fights, fires and revolts, and there were also natural disasters such as plagues, famine, and earthquakes. As in all periods and societies, the people looked for someone to blame in different religions to turn to. So it's quite similar to what I was reading before. Okay, as to what is happening right now, because see, society is no longer feeding the people what is needed to them anymore. So when society no longer cares for the people no longer care their damn selves to uphold the policy of government. Now everything becomes rogue and people start to pretty much do their own thing instead. So now you have society breaking down to a rubble. And this is what was going on at the time. So in like manner, as well as we have it today, is what's going on right now. Because this is the same beast which is back all over again. And I want to read this, Revelations 13:3. And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all of the world wondered after the beast. Exactly. So when you read even the book of Revelations, the 20th chapter, that mentions that the beast would be loosed out of prison, and it would be loose in his little season, as well as even Daniel prophesied about the Roman Empire coming back as well. So there's three places you can go, which shows you that prophecy of the Roman system being invigorated again, stemming all the way back. And I'm talking about the Neo-Rome, which is what we're under right now, which stemmed back to the Renaissance period, which the term Renaissance we know, which means rebirth. And really, that's what it was all about. It was basically them reinvigorating Rome all over again after the Middle Ages had been passed. So again, when we go back and we read this over here, again, I'm going to read this again, and I'm going to go back to that article. In the past 10 years, there has been a dramatic uptick in mass violence and deaths with the advent of social media, and it is now easier than ever for spontaneously planned riots to form with little warning. And in most cases, these mobs are random in whom and what they attack. And they might organize in the name of politics or activism, but they tend to lash out at whatever targets are closest or easiest rather than the people they blame for travails. And it's going to get even more worse because right now in America, you have an abundance of people that don't belong there, so-called migrants that are going over there. And, the more that they keep going over there, the more people in America will begin to be agitated. And when people get agitated, they lose it, especially more than now than ever before in these times. Because, again, you also got to pay attention to what's going on financially with the money. The money has been weakened by quantitative easing. And we can go all the way back from 2008 and even prior. They've been printing money ever since, and they're still printing dollars even more so, and they plan to do more so in the future. So all of this is going to do is just going to agitate things even more in regards to the people, and more things are going to happen among the people and showing that people have had enough. Again, when society loses its mind, the people lose their minds with it. Just like how it happened in ancient Rome, as I've shown, because even in ancient Rome, you had riots break out, as I was showing you, and you also had civil wars that was breaking out. And just like in like manner, it's going to be the same thing happening all over again. Ecclesiastes 1 and verse 9. The thing that I have been, it is that which shall be. And that which is done is that which shall be done. And there is no new thing under the sun. In this case, the Neo-Rome that we're now under is going to go out like the old Rome went out. Okay, now what I will say is, yeah, in ancient Rome, you had various wars that were being fought as well, foreign wars. But guess what? Foreign wars are being fought right now. And the way that this Roman system is going to end, it's going to end dramatically. It's going to end astronomically. And then you're going to have the Messiah making his second return on top of that. So the ending of this Roman system, yeah, is going to end in like manner as the old one. But there's going to be other end time scenarios that we're all going to witness here on this earth, which will bring a complete end to this civilization, which will be, and we're going to have the incoming of the Lord. And this is the reason why the nuclear weapons are going to be used. This is the reason why back in the 1940s, they invented the atomic bomb, which was in Alamo, Mexico, back in 45, and around that same year, I believe, they tested it on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And when they did that, they killed, about 80,000 people. So that was something to be wooed about back in the 40s. You got to think, right? So that's when the nations were afraid at this point of the Western power itself. And this is why I have to go back and reading Revelation 13 and verse 3 to verse 4 again. And I saw one of his head as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed. And all of the world wondered after the beast. And they worshiped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast, which the dragon is the Roman system that we're now under. And they worshiped the beast, saying, who is like unto the beast? And who was able to make war with him? Exactly. So when they dropped that bomb after World War II, again, that was a statement to the world, to let the world know that we are the now superpower, not to be reckoned with. And that's why it reads that they wandered after the beast and worshiped the beast, because you worship something that is equivalent to that of a god to you. In the ancient world of all times, the other nations would have gods that they would set above themselves and worship. Or whether it was the king, they would worship him as a god. So when the West demonstrated that godlike power on the left-hand side, which it really was, which it really was godlike power, because it was really the Most High that gave them the knowledge to create such weapons of mass destruction on how to split the atom bomb, which was by Albert Einstein and this other individual, which said that he has become the destroyer of worlds. Robert Oppenheimer, he was being interviewed, and I think this interview was based in 1963 or 5. I'm not really sure, but it was based in the 60s. And in this particular interview, I might put it on the description box so you can check it out for yourself, what I'm talking about, or I might put it on the comment section. And he was sitting down, and you can tell the look on his face. He wasn't pleased at all. He was very appalled by the fact that he came up with such a thing like the atomic bomb.
You and many like you who brought the bomb into being still seem to suffer, may I say, from a bad conscience about it. Is that true, sir?
Well, I don't want to speak for others because we're all different. I think when you play a meaningful part in bringing about the death of over 100,000 people and the injury of a comparable number, you naturally don't think of that as with ease. I believe we had a great cause to do this, but I do not think that our consciences should be entirely easy.
Because now he realized that the world in the future is going to begin to access this nuclear bomb or this atomic bomb, and they're going to wind up destroying life as you know it. Right? But you see, when men do things, men have an agenda behind why they do things. But what they don't understand sometimes, the Most High has an agenda, which really it's all the time. Let me correct myself. All the time, the Most High has a superior agenda. Remember, the scripture says, for the Lord's ways are higher than our ways. So whatever men are trying to do, guess what? The Lord can do one and even better. Because these devils, they're in the business of destroying life itself, right? But the Most High has an agenda. The Lord is basically using this devil to come up with such weaponry with the blessing that he was given against him to bring in the new heavens and the new earth. Okay? This is why these devils, another reason why these devils are ruling the earth today. Because what they're going to do is they're going to bring the fires. And the Lord is going to come and bring his fire to the mix. And all of that is going to involve the Lord's indignation. You understand? So this is Isaiah 54 and verse 16. Behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire. So this is the Lord or Yahweh speaking through the prophet Isaiah. And that bringeth forth an instrument for his work. And I have created the waster to destroy. So the Lord is speaking through Isaiah saying that I have created the waster to destroy. And that's what the nuclear bomb is going to be instrumental in doing. It's destroying whole cities and providing the Lord's indignation here on this earth to cleanse the planet Earth on top of that. All right. So now what I want to do is I want to get back to the point of this topic here, because the topic is that what we're dealing with is the breaking down of society between the people and the government. And after I got done reading what I was reading in both of these articles that I was reading, now what I want to read is Second Ezra 15 and verse 15 and verse 16. For the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another in swords in their hands. For there shall be seditious among men, and invading one another, and they shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their action shall stand in their power. And as well as I was watching this week, a lot of police shows, and I noticed that people nowadays don't respect the authority, and I've peeped that. Watching all of these police shows, right? People getting arrested and people trying to get away and people trying to cause unnecessary problems for the police and everything, right? People don't really have the same respect like they used to for authority anymore. So if people don't respect authority, then we already know what's going to come after that. Again, society's just going to break down to rubble. People are divided against the government divided against the people. So now we have a society that cannot stand on itself. And if a kingdom, this is Mark 3 and verse 24, and if a kingdom be divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. And if a house be divided against itself, it cannot stand. So there you have it. So if you have a bunch of people that disregard the king, then the king has no power. If the king isn't taking care of the people, then guess what? People lose their minds. So this is where we are at right now in society. We're in a particular point in time where society has long gone and left the care of the people. And now what I want to do is I want to read some words out of this guy's mouth. Antonio Guterres, which is the head of the UN, and this is what he says. I can't go on the website because it won't let me go onto it. Right? So this reads, people no longer trust their government to tackle climate change, war, and inequality. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has said. And just like I mentioned, once you lose the trust of the people, then people lose respect, because it's like, why do I need to look back towards my king for if my king ain't really doing exactly what's good for us or society in general? So what are you going to have? Let's read this again. For there shall be seditious among men, and invading one another, and they shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the courses of their action shall stand in their power. So people are going to go rogue apeshit on the powers that are above them. This is what happened in ancient Rome, and this is what's going to happen in this Roman system. And that's all I have to say. I think I've made my point very clear on this lesson here. With that, I want to give all of the praises and the glory to the Most High and the Son, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rekah, HaKodash. And with that, I am out. Shalom.